Participating in the Dome project, quote, makes sense and is considered to be in Canada's national interest.
Okay, so some interest there, maybe focused initially on data sharing and network integration. Now, how have major adversaries reacted? The sources captured responses from China and Russia, right?
They certainly did. China and Russia issued a joint statement explicitly addressing the Golden Dome concept.
What do they say?
The sources quote them, calling the idea deeply destabilizing in nature. They warned it would escalate tensions by turning outer space into an environment for placing weapons and an arena for armed confrontation.
Arena for armed confrontation. That's strong language. Pretty direct warning.
Very direct.
Has there been any direct diplomatic engagement on this concept with, say, Russia? Did Trump talk to Putin about it?
According to the sources, Trump started that he hadn't spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin about Golden Dome yet, but he indicated he planned to do so at the right time.
At the right time. Okay, so a program still really in its conceptual stages is already drawing sharp warnings about potential destabilization from major powers.
Yeah.
That's a significant international reaction right out of the gate.
Definitely sets a tone.
So what's the overall status of the program right now, according to these sources? Where does it stand today?
Based on everything in the sources, it remains very much in the conceptual phase.
Conceptual stage, really, despite the huge proposed budgets and those ambitious timelines we talked about.
Yes, and the sources highlight what they call a pretty unusual aspect of the development process right now.
What's that?
The Pentagon is still in the process of developing the specific requirements the system is supposed to meet.
Wait, they're still figuring out what it needs to do?
Kind of, yeah. The sources note that this isn't the typical way new large-scale defense systems are normally developed. Usually you define exactly what you need the system to achieve before you start designing and funding it at this kind of level.
So they know they want a Golden Dome, but they're still writing the instruction manual for what that actually means in terms of performance criteria. That seems kind of backwards from a traditional project management perspective.
It's certainly noted as unusual in the sources. U.S. Northern Command, NORTHCOM, which is responsible for defending the homeland, is reportedly still drafting its initial capabilities document. That's the formal process for identifying precisely what the system needs to be capable of doing. They're still working on that foundational document.
Will any existing defense systems be part of this, at least? Or is it all brand new?
No, the sources confirm that existing capabilities will be incorporated. Things like Patriot missile batteries.
The ground-based ones.
Exactly. The ground-based air defense systems the U.S. has used for decades. And current surveillance satellites, that kind of stuff, they'll be integrated into the overall Golden Dome architecture.
Okay. So taking everything we've pulled from these sources, the vision for this multi-layered defense shield extending into space, aiming for a rapid deployment by 2029, but then juxtaposed with the Pentagon's much more cautious timeline and maybe just a demonstration test by then.
Yeah, that huge gap.
The enormous technical challenges involved, especially that never-before-accomplished task of boost phase interception from space.
Yeah, the really hard part.
The staggering and widely varying cost estimates, anywhere from $175 billion to potentially over $500 billion.
Huge range.
The program still being in the unusual stage of defining its own requirements. And then these strong warnings from major global powers about destabilization. It paints a picture of an incredibly ambitious, incredibly complex, and frankly, deeply uncertain undertaking.
It really does. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these sources reveal the tension. The tension between a very bold political aspiration, get this done now, and the stark technical, logistical, and financial realities of trying to develop these unprecedented capabilities, especially in a new domain like space warfare.
Yeah.
It's a powerful look at the sheer scale of modern defense planning and just the inherent uncertainties involved when you're pushing the envelope this far.
It really forces you to look beyond the headline, beyond the name Golden Dome, and understand all the layers of complexity involved.
Which kind of leads to an important question, maybe for you, the listener, to consider as you process all this information from the sources. Given the really significant technical hurdles that are explicitly described, right? And the vast difference between the stated political timelines and the Pentagon's apparent operational expectations.
And a demo versus operational thing.
Exactly. And the fundamental uncertainty reflected in those wildly divergent cost estimates from different official sources.
$175 billion versus $542 billion.
Right. And considering the immediate and strong international reactions that have already been reported, What is the true likelihood, based on what these sources tell us, of deploying fully operational space-based weapons on this scale in the near future? And maybe more importantly, what might the real-world implications actually be if they try?